Did we do the arm from the front view and side view last week, right? And then we do the supination and pronation, right? That's what we did, right? Okay, so today I would like to start from, I think we also did the side view, if I remember correct. The side view, seeing the side view, and did we do that? No? I'm getting confused. All right. No, I guess not.
We did supination.
I'm sorry?
No, I don't think we did the side view.
Okay, then let's do the side view. And then we'll take it from there. And then I'm going to show you how to create a sequence in blocking an arm in movement, right? So side view. We can start blocking in. We're a little bit early, but that's fine, right? We start blocking in the volume. You Greg, you're home, of course, right? Nobody's there at PAFA, right? Nobody's there, right?
People have started coming back to PAFA this week.
Oh, okay,
So,
okay.
Yeah, so they've allowed some students back, but I'm not going in.
Okay, okay. Because I'm using one of Scott Noel's works from the second book, and he cannot send me a picture because it's at PAFA. So he said, when I can go back, I'm gonna take a picture. But I was wondering if he can go back already or not, because they need to put. I'm gonna call him and see if. But it's good to know people can go back, so I know he can go get it. So right.
Yes. Yeah.
So we block in the cylindrical form of the arm right here. Oh, by the way, I saw very nice hands. Very nice hands, beautiful, beautiful work. So I think you're getting it. You're getting the idea of the hands, the volume, the blocks. That really helps in conceptualizing the hands in this basic volume, right? That's very good. So now let's block in this. Let's maintain the same approach of essential volumes, and then we block in the specific volumes, right? So I block in my arm, upper arm, and I decide how long I want this to be, right? Now, because of that idea of the progressive shortening of the segment of the arm as they move away from the center, I want to now as I add the forearm, I know this is the same length, right? The same length. So I'm going to block in the forearm, but a little bit shorter than that, because this segment has to be a little bit shorter than that, right? So now also I want to have it a slight angle, right? A slight angle like this, right? And I can start drawing instead of a 2x4 and adding the volume over it like this, which I could do that too, right? I can start blocking in already a form that starts with a volume, a conical volume, like with a circular section, and gradually it becomes a 2x4, a square section, slightly shorter than the upper arm, right? And then a hand. So the hand is going to be about 7/8, which is arrives, about here. So let me see if I have my measuring things. I look at my hand and then I measure the hand, right? And I compare it with the length of the forearm. It gets, see where the elbow is, right? So I can eyeball that measurement, right? I can eyeball that measurement and I say, okay, about here. So I take this measurement and move it down here. And now I have the length of the hand. So now all these three segments are going to be are proportion. So when I draw the model, and we can always start with the model in an easy position. So way to do poses that are too foreshortened, kind of, let's say, dynamic, etc. Wait until you have a good understanding of the proportion of the body from a measurable point of view, controllable point of view. So I have this 1, 2, 3, And then proportional relationship are correct. Now I want to start breaking it into each single segment and draw specific, more specific volume, right? So start with a deltoid. You see it well, right? Is it clear enough? Is it, it's dark enough? You see it? Okay. So the deltoid will start from just above the head of the humerus, which covers it a little bit, right? And it gets down halfway down the length of the humerus, halfway down. It's pretty long, right? It doesn't look like it because it tapers, right? So, but the deltoid, I'm gonna do two levels of schematization. One very basic and one a little bit more specific. I block in the deltoid here like this, right here. And this is the front, this is the back. And I want this to arrive down halfway down the length of the arm, right? From the tip of the deltoid, I want to go down with a line here that divides the measure the width of the arm in two. And as I get down about to the lower third of the upper arm, I move forward here with a line and backward with the other line here, like this, right? So now this portion here, the anterior portion, will have the bicep brachii, and the brachialis, right? So now the posterior portion is going to have the tricep muscle, right? Okay, so now in this forming here, I'm going to put, so this is the back of the hand, I'm going to put the extensors here, right? And I block in now a more, like a volume like this, right? A volume like this, more clearly defined. And this volume here will start here. We start above the joint, above the elbow. The elbow joint is going to be just here between the upper arm and the lower arm, a little bump in here. This is the olecranon, right? So that's your olecranon. Okay, so now let's see. We already saw a little bit the muscle of the forearm last week. We're gonna go a little bit more in detail today, right? So let's start, go back to the top and review, add a little bit more detail, organic detail, right? So the deltoid is not going to be a symmetric form like this. The anterior part is not equal, is the same as the posterior part, but it's easier for me to start creating a simple form like this and then later to be more specific, right? So now the anterior part is turning around the shoulder like this, right? And I don't see the part of the deltoid that is behind this margin here, but the posterior part goes toward the spine of the scapula. So this is the spine of the scapula, right? And this is the trapezius. This is the neck, right? So the deltoid will go from here up to here. So this is the whole form of the deltoid posteriorly, meaning the deltoid in the end is not going to be a form that is regular down like this, right? But it's asymmetrical, it's going to be like this. Angled, at an angle, right? So it's going to be at an angle down like this, right? You see the posterior portion because the scapula is attached to over the rib cage in here, right? and it's at an angle. So I see the spine of the scapula here, and the deltoid would go to the deltoid would go all the way to here. Sorry, all the way to here, right? And come forward. So we're gonna do the muscle of the arm as seen from the back, so you will have a better view of this, right? So the deltoid can also be divided in a specific segment. The anterior segment here, right? The lateral segment, and the posterior portion here, right? So, and then here, at this point in here, I will have the upper portion of the deltoid that connect with the spine of the scapula, the acromion, and the clavicle. Okay? So now I move back in here, right, down to the front here, and to the front here I have the bicep, right? So the bicep has a nice elongated volume here, and the tendon will disappear behind the volume of this muscle, which is the brachioradialis. But the bicep is over the brachialis that originates about halfway down, starting from the middle down of the upper arm, meaning the deltoid stops at the middle, and the brachialis starts at the middle, and then it goes down at midpoint of the arm, and it goes down toward the ulna. So now I have here the two muscles that make up the anterior part of the upper arm, bicep brachii and brachialis. So now, if you want, we can also start getting a little bit of shading by darkening. So we go for a very, from a very basic schematic rendering to a slightly more described organic volumetric description of the muscle, right? Posteriorly, I have the tricep. Tricep means three heads, right? So I see here, of the three heads, I see mostly only on about the one head I see very little. So in here, I see the lateral head, right? So the lateral head, imagine this is the volume of the head of the humerus, right? The lateral head, we start from just behind here, just below the head of the humerus, and it comes out like this, and then appears now here, right? From under the deltoid, and then create a volume here that from the back move to the side. So in other words, if this is the section of the arm as a square, the tricep will do this, one here and one here. And the bicep will do this to the front. So that is the tricep, to the head of the tricep, and this is the bicep. And if I look at the section of the arm, because the bicep and brachialis are over and under, the profile, the width of the arm from the front is going to be narrower than the width of the arm from behind, because the muscles are side by side. So basically going from the center to the corner, right? So this is the humerus, right? And then you have the muscles here and here, like this. So this volume here will develop its bulge up above here, just below the deltoid, and eventually it will taper it will taper down like this, right? And it stops here, right? Below here, at this level here, I have a another muscle visible here, which is the medial head of the tricep. We're going to discuss this later when we see the muscle from behind, because it's too complicated. You gotta trust me now. You're gonna see from the lateral side, you see the lateral head and the medial head. Mystery, right? So we're gonna show you what happened later when we do the muscle from behind. Now, this is these are the fibers of the muscle right here, right? And here I would have the tendon. The tendon of the tricep is unmistakable. It's flat, it's long, it tapers out like this. And now I see just behind this muscle in here, another muscle, another head of the tricep. And so this is the lateral head. This is portion of the medial head. And here I'm going to see the long head. So the long head of the tricep will start from here. It goes toward the scapula here, and then from here, and then it comes out. I see it here, popping out a little bit here, and then disappear going to the other side. So I do see a little bit of this head of the tricep here, right? But then it disappears because it goes to the other side. That's the long head. All right. So you see how we get really quickly into a more recognizable form, a more organic form. This is the tendon, right? And now from here, I had this bulge in here of muscle. All of these are the extensors, right? All these muscles are the extensors. So so this is the olecranon, right? Let me show you the arm. All right. So this is the right arm, right? So I see that this is the part that goes into the scapula. This is the olecranon. This is the olecranon, and that's what I see. This is the olecranon here, right? See that at this level here, there's a thickening of the arm, of the bone of the arm here. So that's where the deltoid goes. The deltoid goes up to here. In fact, there is a little bit of a blade of bone here, goes up to here, and then starting from, so the brachialis then start from here down to here, but then on this anterior portion here, but then on the side of the radius here, starting from here, on this segment of the, see how flat it is and long, this is where the brachioradialis begins here. Below here, I have extensor carpi radialis longus and extensor carpi radialis brevis. So these three muscles, brachioradialis, extensor carpi radialis longus, or ECRL, right? Extensor carpi radialis longus, and ECRB, extensor carpi radialis brevis, start here in this lower portion, right? So Now, the brachioradialis will occupy this upper portion of the lower third, right? And we'll go down like this toward here. It goes here, this point in here, right? I had to close the window because it slows down the connection. Okay, so it goes down here, right? So now, brachioradialis, and at this point, the brachioradialis is flat. It's actually, the brachioradialis is always flat, right? But in here, it's kind of very close, adherent to the side of the arm. As it gets in here, as it gets a little bit lower here, it picks up volume, it becomes, it develops this curvature in here, but this curvature in here come from ECRB and ECRL. So these two muscles in here are going to be under the brachioradialis, pushing it up. So now these two have volume, because these two are fusiform, and this is on top of them. And now we create this upper volume here in the forearm, upper arm here, sorry, forearm, and the tendon of these two muscles, extensor carpi radialis longus and brevis, will go down to the carpus, right? So this is the carpal bones. Carpal bones, right? 8, the carpal bones are 8, and then metacarpal bones, 5, right? So I can see that pretty much in the overall size of the hand, or the palm of the hand, the size of the carpal bones is about 1/3 of the total length of the palm of the hand. So I have 4 metacarpal bones in the back of the hand, and 1 is the thumb, and 5 with the thumb, which is somehow detached, right? So now I have 5 metacarpal bones and 8 carpal bones. So now the tendon of the brachioradialis goes here to the end, to the very end of the radius. It goes to the very end of the radius here, on the side of the thumb, right? On the side of the thumb. It goes here. The fleshy part tapers very quickly, and we get about halfway down the, maybe a little bit more than that, but halfway down the arm, it becomes tendon here. And now I don't have flesh anymore, it's tendon. The extensor carpi radialis longus, right? Start from just here, just below and under the brachioradialis, and its tendon will go down to the carpus here, like this, right? So remember when we did the flexor carpi radialis, flexor carpi ulnaris, it's the same thing in here, except instead of flexor, these are extensor, right? The extensor. So extensor carpi radialis, because extend the carpus going through the radius, but I had 2. So one is long and one is short. Longus and extensor carpi radialis brevis, right? Now have this going down, the same thing, going down like this, right? And going down to also to the carpus. So in reality, this go down back to the metacarpal bone, but it doesn't matter. It's just confusing. Let's pretend they go down to the carpus, right? It doesn't really matter. We don't see it anyway. I want black pencil. Let me see if I can find a black pencil. We can carve out these details a little bit more, right? So now, yeah, so we carve them out more and then we see a little bit better the difference, right? Now, this portion here will have outer muscles, right? Outer muscle. So let's see what they are. So here we have now in the middle here, just behind this muscle here, starting from, so here, that little dot here is the lateral epicondyle. So remember, we have here condyle, right, and epicondyle. This is the lateral condyle, and this is the lateral epicondyle. This is the medial condyle, and this is the medial epicondyle. So this is on the side of the body. So when I have the arm like this, I feel here, right, on this side, not this, right? Now this is the olecranon, but on the outside here, I feel another bump. That is the epicondyle, right? This little epicondyle. So this muscle in here start from just here, the epicondyle, just below the epicondyle, right? That's why you feel it. You feel the muscle here, the bumping here, the bone, and below that, you're gonna start feeling the muscle, or the muscle here go down to the fingers. So now, I forgot to shave my arms again. So now I have here 3 muscles in this area here. One is the extensor of the fingers and goes down like this, right? The extensor of the fingers is here. And from the extensor of the fingers, tendons develop. And these tendons, I'm going to make them blue so we can see them. They're going to go down to the fingers, right here and here. And they're going to go over the extensor carpi radialis. And 4. I'm going to have 4 of these, right? I hope it's not too confusing, because we start having a lot of tendon overlapping each other now, so it's going to be a little bit tricky, but that's the way it is, right? So now behind, let me get a little bit more volume this. Behind the behind this volume here of the extensor extensor digitorum, the extensor of the fingers, I have another thin muscle here, very thin muscle, right? It goes down to the pinky, so that the pinky has 2 tendons, right? As one tendon, it comes from the extensor of the fingers, the common extensor of the fingers. And we're gonna color it a little bit. And one from its own extensor. And Let's name them, right? Let's name this muscle. So, brachioradialis, extensor carpi radialis longus, extensor carpi radialis brevis, extensor, let's call it extensor fingers, right? And this one here goes to the pinky, extensor digiti minimi. Right? Extensor of the pinky, extensor digiti minimi, right? Next to it, there's another muscle, and it goes just below the lateral epicondyle, and goes out here like this, right? And it goes down to the carpus. So the tendon is here, right? So following the same reasoning that we have done last week about the flexors, this is going to be named according to the same principle, right? So this is the extensor carpi ulnaris, because it goes through the ulna, right? Like that. So the ulna, the radius will be here, right? Just barely, you can feel the radius here a little bit, right? But it's going to be covered by muscle and tendon that we're going to see later on, right? And here I have now the radius here, and the ulna is going to be here, poking out like this, right? And this is more visible. This bone here is the end of the ulna, and this is more visible. So we're going to poke out here like this. So now what I want to do, I want to get into this area here to block in with a little bit more detail the extensors. Where do I put it? The extensor of the extensors and abductors of the hallucis of the thumb, right? So the extensor of the hallucis, sorry, of the pollicis, they start under these muscles in here. So I don't want to get too much into a deep analysis of this muscle, but I'm going to show them when they pop out and when they become visible, right? So the muscle is above here, and it will come out about from here, right? Halfway in the arm, it comes out as a form here like this, and goes over all these tendons in here. And it's this form here that we have. Let's see if I can show it. Here, see that? Right. This form here, see that? Here. This is the abductor of the thumb here. It's not very visible, this form, but it is visible. So and the tendon will go down to the thumb like this, right? On the side of the thumb. Let me see. Well, later I'm going to try to show you these tendons in my hand, right? So this is the abductor. It's called abductor pollicis longus. We could start from kind of halfway up in the radius right here, and it comes down diagonally like this from under the extensor digitorum, and then goes with the tendon to here, the side of the thumb. I'm going to show it to you later, right? Then there is another muscle below, and that is going to be the abductor pollicis brevis, right? And it's going to be right. No, sorry, extensor pollicis brevis, and it's going to be just under here, right? And this tendon will go down equally here. To the thumb. So there is another one, but the other one is so this is extensor pollicis brevis, and the extensor pollicis brevis, I see it here, and together the abductor pollicis longus, extensor pollicis brevis create a volume here in the forearm, just above the wrist, that you can feel, and they move the thumb. See that? Move the thumb like that, right? So then there is the extensor pollicis longus, but we see only the tendon, so I'm going to spare you that, right? Here, but overall, what I have, see if I can render this form, this complex form, a little bit easier. We start with, as a way of synthesizing this, right? We start with the forearm here, right here, and the arm is here, right? And then here I have the hand, right? So I have a volume here, which is this volume here, which somehow is this distinct volume, separated volume, right, compared to this. And this volume here is going to be the volume of the brachyradialis and extensor of the carpus that aim for this. As I move down here, there's another volume here like this, which is more long, right, elongated. And this is the volume of the extensor of the fingers, right? So here is mostly, this volume is coming from the extensor of the fingers because it goes down straight, right? This volume here is on the side and goes on this side of the hand, right? So it will develop a little bit diagonally overall because it goes toward this part in here, the hand. So this is brachyradialis, extensor carpi radialis longus and brevis. This is the extensor of the fingers, right? And this is the extensor of the carpus, but from the ulnar side. But you just basically need to remember this 1 and 2, right? Where this is more elongated, goes to the fingers, and this goes to the carpus on this side. But at this level here, there is another volume here, little volume here, that is created by two muscles, the abductor pollicis longus and the extensor pollicis brevis. you just remember a little volume here, a little volume here, you're good to go. You don't need to remember what is that the longus, is that the brevis, is the abductor, is the extensor, doesn't matter, right? Find the form here. And now here you have the hand, right? And here you do see the little bump of the ulna, right? Olecranon. And now I know that there's a connection between the olecranon, which is the head of the ulna here, and the head of the ulna here, right? The ulna has two heads, right? And here, up just above here, where this starting point of the extensor is just below the lateral epicondyle. So now, I'm going to see if I can show you the tendon of these muscles here, right? So with a hand like this, you see these two tendons, right? There is one here. What is it? Okay, one here and one here, right? And one here. So these two tendons, this tendon here, in reality, is not one, it's two, right? Look at this, right? See that they separate? So if I bring it out like this is visible, and this is the extensor, the long extensor of the hallucis is visible here. And if I really pull hard, I see that here there is a depression, right? This depression here is called anatomical snuffbox. Right, anatomical snuffbox. And the anatomical snuffbox is, so you see how this tendon is more diagonal. This is the deep tendon, it's more diagonal. So we come down from a little bit deeper, lower, and more diagonally. These two tendons, instead of straighter, they go down straighter, right? Straighter because they come from, see this volume here now, 1 and 2. Now they separate. This is the abductor, the long abductor of the thumb, and this is the short extensor of the thumb, 1 and 2. If I relax, I don't see them, but if I do this, they kind of pop out. So this volume here is a very subtle volume in the forearm, but is a volume nonetheless. So now, when I do this, I bring this up with the extensor brevis, I create a depression here, anatomical snuffbox between the tendon extensor brevis and the two tendons of abductor, the long abductor of this thumb, and the short extensor of the thumb. If I do now this, if I extend the thumb, I start seeing the separation between the two tendons. See that? That is a separation. So now I have one tendon here and one tendon here, right? That depression in there. Now I see the two tendons. So, which means that here, why am I bothering you with this? You're wondering, right? So when I have the hand like this, right? This is the radius, right? This is the ulna, the little bump sticking out, right? This is the thumb, right? So this is the dorsal view. If I, the carpus is here, right? And this is the radius. This notch in here disappears when because the tendons, the tendon in there. In here, there is a little bit more of a notch. See that? In and out. Because the tendon that I have here is not of the extensor of the of the extensor of the carpus is not as visible and leaves a little bit more spacing here on this side and here, right? But these tendons here, they have to go to the thumb. What they do, they bridge the gap between the radius and the thumb, and now you have this portion here that appears to be longer. So that's where the tendon begins. See that? So that makes a difference in the outline of the hand, like a little bit notched here and bridged on this side here. So now, and here eventually I will have the volume of the muscle here, but again, they're very difficult to see, right? With the tendon going up like that, okay? So, so any question about this? Because if you don't, we can go over the muscle of the muscle of the arm is seen from behind, right?
So I'm assuming that it's important that when you are drawing or painting, to realize that these muscles go over the, how do you call it?
Over that, sorry, Rita, sorry, say it again. Over what?
They go a little bit to the upper arm.
I'm not sure I understand what you're trying to say.
The muscles, I think it seems to me that it's important that when you are drawing or painting, the muscles from the lower arm go a little bit over to the upper arm, I think.
Yes, yeah, here.
Yeah, so that's important to know, I think.
That's a very good point, because what happening here is, so this muscle in here, that's a very important. As this muscle here start above this condyle here, and this muscle start below the condyle here. So they start from the side of the arm, but keep in mind that you're not going to see this upper portion of the muscle, the brachioradialis, very clearly because it's flat. So this muscle is flat and it kind of really hugs the side of the arm, it's very tightly. And then when it gets now lower, when the other two muscles are now developing their own volume, now this muscle goes over them, and therefore the whole thing bulges up, and it looks like the brachioradialis now is a big muscle here. But before going over the ECRL and CRB, this muscle almost is not visible here, but it would be here on the side here of the arm.
Okay.
So, let me see one thing. I want to show, I just posted an image on the arm like this. See if I can pull it up, right? Okay, I just posted it. I don't know where, but so what we have here, right? Let me get this right closer. With the arm turned like this, see that? We're going to have this upper bulging here, and this including this, right? All of these muscles are the brachioradialis, extensor carpio longus and brevis here, and these are the extensor of the hand. Sorry, the extensor of the fingers. See that? This is the olecranon. That's the head of the ulna. And this is the flexors. I see the flexor under there. So you see how there is a kind of a, oh, wait, maybe I can show it to you here from the original. Right, I'm gonna find it now. Where did I put it? Oh, I don't have it here. Sorry. It's in another book. All right. I'll find it for next week, right? But actually, if you give me a couple of minutes, I'm gonna find it. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, it should be here. Let me see if I can find it for you guys. Right. You stop shifting around stuff. So this is a schematic view with it too. See that? So we have here brachioradialis. See how the brachioradialis here is clear, right? You see it. The brachioradialis is thin in here, right? And in the arm, you don't really see that because it's very flat. But as soon as this portion of the brachioradialis goes over the extensor carpi radialis longus and the extensor carpi radialis brevis, it picks up the volume. And now together, this one goes here. Therefore, to this turn, you don't see where it goes because it will go behind this volume in here, right? These two here go to the back of the hand, very close to the thumb. And then this volume in here, all of this, right? They start just below the lateral epicondyl and they go down to the finger. So you're gonna have a spiraling effect that is pretty beautiful to look at. And you see how in here, when we see the slightly different angle of the muscle of the shoulder and the upper arm. So this is the deltoid, right? Deltoid in here. And you see how the posterior part comes forward a little bit more because it moves from an angle from the back and goes diagonally across. Meanwhile, this one is a little bit straighter, right? It goes straighter down like this to halfway down the height of the length of the humerus, and right above the brachialis. This is the brachialis, this is the bicep, this is the tricep, and this is the lateral head of the tricep, and this is the long head, sorry, the medial head of the tricep, right? So I'm going to I'm gonna leave it here so you can take a look at it. I'm gonna keep looking for that image because I have the three visualization, right? From skeleton to muscle to superficial form. So I really want to show it to you because it helps a lot in explaining the changes in the shapes and form of the forearm, right? Oh, here it is. Okay, so all of this stuff is in a new book. So we're going to have a preview, right? Have a preview of what's in the book. Nobody's seen it. I posted them back. So here, we see this is the big drawing, right? So you see how. Let's find let's compare it with the muscle, right? We see now how here we have the deltoid, right? The deltoid like this. The pectoralis, see the fiber of the pectorali, how they create a radiating pattern, right? They create the radiating pattern like that. And then we have here the bicep here with the two heads visible. When you have the arm like this in tension, very often you have a separation of the two heads of the bicep, the long head and the short head, right? So the long head and the short head. And here, the brachialis is kind of difficult to see because it's squeezed under the bicep, right? And the poor thing, you know, he does what he can. But down here, there's a fold, a little bit of the skin, right? But also the volume of the brachioradialis coming from in between the brachialis and the tricep and moving here to this portion here over extensor carpi radialis longus and brevis. So now in here I have this big volume here, right, which we can consider as a specific separate volume that goes kind of wraps around the arm like this when the arm is turned inward like this, right? Because think of this muscle in here go to this extremity of the hand. So when the hand turns, the muscle follow and wrap around the axis of the forearm, right? So this is this group of muscle, the brachioradialis, ECRB, ECRL, they go this way. From the just under here, I have this other group of muscle that is more elongated and it's directed to the back of the hand. And that is, this is Anconaeus, and this is the ulna. This is the line of the ulna and the line of division between extensor and flexors, right? So when we look at this, I created this from a more dynamic point of view, then we see how all these lines will converge in specific point and how they will wrap around and have some sort of harmonious continuity, right, between each other, right? So forearm, the arm, and especially the forearm, is really hard because there's a lot of muscle going down. So what we want to think is we want to reduce that to basic volume. So imagine this, I have now the upper arm here, right? And find the joint. The joints are going to be here more or less, like here, right? And I have this volume here like this. Well, maybe a little bit too chubby, but yeah. And now the hand is turned. So if I do this, draw the section like this, right? I can show much better than the hand is turned like this, right? Now here, I can subdivide this big form here in two big volume. One volume is here, right? It goes around that and goes here. And the other volume is here. And it goes here. Here. And then here I have now another volume, which is the flexors. And they are divided by the ulna. Make sense? So now it's much easier to kind of figure out this complexity. And then if I need to get more detail, I can block in here the brachioradialis as a flat muscle here, which flexes without really leaving any imprint. As soon as you get a little bit, goes over the extensor carpi radialis longus and brevis, picks up the volume, and now I see it, right? And then to the front, you have the bicep. So the bicep is going to be behind that. Okay, makes sense? So now you see this kind of wrapping around the form, right? So this is another, let me see if this is another visualization of the arm in torsion, right? So this is even more in torsion, but with the extended arm, right? So we see the, all right. A lot of paper here. Right. So we see here deltoid, right? Bicep, brachialis, lateral head of the tricep with the medial head of the tricep coming through, long head of the tricep, and the flat tendon, which culminate into the olecranon, right? That's the olecranon, the head of the ulna, and this is the ulna, the blade of the ulna that is visible here. At a certain point, this bone in here will disappear because this muscle in here, the extensor and the flexor, kind of cover it. They go over it. They kind of, you know, hide it. And then the ulna emerges again toward the end in here. But now you see also here how we have this torsion of this muscle, and it helps a lot to understand where they go. So if I have, again, it's a way of synthesizing this complexity, right? I don't want to get lost in all of this stuff. So what I can do when I synthesize this, I can do this. Upper arm, right, here. Forearm here, right? And now I see the back, this portion here of the arm, right? So which means that this group of muscle in here, right, the way they go to the, this is the thumb side, right? This is the thumb side. So this muscle here will wrap around here, end up here. So they grab really, really tightly around the axis of the forearm. But now if I look at the olecranon, I see the olecranon starts from here and ends up here. So now on this side here, I have also this wrapping of the muscle here, see that? Because this muscle here will go to the back of the hand, right? And now here, instead I have all this muscle here, they go to the palm, and they're going to go down straight like that. So, but you see how this kind of wrapping on the muscle is what you want to kind of extrapolate, because in the living, most likely, you're not going to see a lot of single, all these muscles. Maybe you see the Anconaeus, maybe you see the Anconaeus here, right? This is a muscle that is difficult to see. It's a little triangular muscle between the lateral epicondyle and ulna. And you see sometimes a little wedge here, right? It's a very cute little elegant muscle. But most of all, you're gonna see one, which is the first group of the brachyradialis, ECRB, ECRL, two, the extensor of the fingers, and three, flexor of the fingers. In between, ulna. Make sense, right? Make sense? So then if I look at this from even another point of view, I can see how, this is all the work I'm developing, right, with the new book. We see how, in this case, the blue line creates a sense of convergence in here like this, right? Where you have the deltoid, the single, the specific groups of the deltoid. This is the anterior group, right? This is the lateral group, and then from here they have posterior group of fibers, right? The tricep, right? So see 1, 2, 3, 4, right? The tricep. From here you could continue here. See how you continue here. This muscle here is the brachyradialis, just barely visible here, that detaches itself from the bicep, because this model, Roger, is very, very well defined, and you see his muscle. But overall, what I see is 1, 2, and 3. And then the ulna in the middle. All these other little muscles in here, they group together. They create a big group, and I don't see them. I don't see them. Unless this wiggling of the fingers, then I'm gonna see all these little fingers popping up and popping down. Okay? So, any questions? Okay, so okay, so that's it now without that wrapping around. See, now start making, you know, a little bit making more sense, right? Without all that wrapping around, I would have this grouping here going to the side of this corner here, and this grouping here going down straight like this. And to this, we can include also the extensor of the carpus, the ulnar extensor of the carpus. So, and then in between, wedge in between, more or less visible depending, right? I'm going to have the abductors and extensor of the thumb, okay? So let's look at the, let's build up the arm from behind, right? The arm from behind, and see what happened in terms of muscle layers. Well, let's do this first, and then we get into the muscle layer. I want to kind of hit this one more time, right? From a different angle, different point of view, right? So imagine now that we have our model in the poses we want to decode, I want to figure out. So it's easier when we want to figure out a pose that is complicated of the forearm. Start with the skeleton, a quick sketch of the skeleton, right? So imagine I have the head of the humerus is here. I have here now the humerus, right? And then what I do, I want to look at the orientation of the epicondyles, right? By looking at this bumping here and this bumping here in relation to the olecranon, right? So the epicondyle are gonna be here like this. The olecranon is in the middle here. And now I have ulna, right? Connected directly with the olecranon. And radius right here, right? Coming down like this. And my hand is going to be now at an angle like that, right? So what I see here, I see that the orientation of the epicondyle is this way. The orientation of the wrist is this way. All right, that's good to know. We'll start looking into the geometry a little bit, right? So what I do here, I block in, looking at this, I block in the shoulder, right? And block in the upper arm as a cylinder, right? And then I want to block in the forearm right here. And this is flat because the wrist is directed this way, but the olecranon now is going to be here. And the two little epicondyle are going to be here, right? So now this is the ulna and this is the radius, right? So the hand now is coming this way, we've seen this way, right? And this is the thumb. Of course, the deltoid now is going to be up here like this, right? So it helps if I kind of still have an idea of the skeleton, right? How is the skeleton organized in here like that, right? Just to maintain a certain clarity here. But overall, what I need is points. This, and then the two extremities, right? This bump in here, the olecranon, right? Goes to the ulna, goes to the pinky side. So that helps you greatly in figure out where the radius may be, right? So now let's move on to the next stage and we do pretty much what we have done before, right? We start blocking in the volume of the upper arm right here and the volume of the forearm. And the hand is going to be here, right? And now what it can do is, again, olecranon, the two joints here. This ulna here is now like this, right? Because now I know that on this side here, and just behind the little dot of the lateral epicondyle, I will have the extensor of the fingers. As a volume, right? As a volume. And this become tendons, so these are going to be tendons. And they go up to the back of the hand, right? Now here, I'm going to have the head of the ulna here. So once I block in this muscle here, there are the tendon of the fingers and extensor of the ulna, carpus ulnaris. I have on the other side of the ulna, the flexors. The flexor will pop out like this, right? But they're going to be behind the ulna because they go to the back of the hand. So these are all the flexors, right? And now here I will have coming up like this from the lower third here, the brachyradialis, extensor carpi radialis longus and brevis, and wrapping around like this, going to the side of the forearm here. And then the hand, right? Now here, with the arm turned like this, I see this septum, the division between the anterior portion of the division between the front and the back of the arm. The deltoid is going to be down here halfway the length of the humerus, and it's going to be wrapping around like this, going to the scapula, coming down like this from here, doing down like this, right? And then here's the bicep, slightly turned, and here the tricep, right here and here. This is the tendon, and this is the volume of the long head of the tricep, and this is the tendon. Make sense, right? So starting with this makes it much more easy to understand how these groups behave as the turns and twists, right? So so we did from supination to pronation, right? We did the steering of the forearm, right? You want now to think about the same way. So remember when we did this, we started with upper arm, forearm, hand here, supination. So here I have the volume of the brachyradialis visible here. And this is the volume of the flexor. As I go from this posing here in supination to this pose in pronation, right? This volume here keeps going to the base of the thumb. It always starts from the side, so it will do this. Right? So now from under here, I have the extensor. Remember this, right? We did last week, right? Guys, you're there?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Remember this, right? You remember this, right?
Yes.
Okay. So it's the same concept, but it gets a little bit more complex, a little bit more complicated because that's the nature of the beast, right? So let's look now at the let's try to, yeah.
I can't quite remember the name of the oleocrenon or whatever.
Oh, olecranon, yeah, olecranon. So yeah.
Is that part of the humerus? Is that the end of the humerus, or is that part of?
No, it's the ulna. Let me show you again. Hey, I want that. There you go. Right. So this is the arm on the back side, dorsal side, and this is this bump in here, right? Is connected with the humerus directly here, right? And this is on the inside, and it's very tightly connected with the joint. See that? Very tightly connected with the joint. So this is the ulna, and the ulna is on the pinky side. So in your hand, that is the bump of the ulna, and if you keep following here, you end up with this, which is the olecranon. This big bone here is the olecranon. So that's the beginning of the ulna.
Okay, thank you.
Right? So muscles of the from the back view, right? Okay, so let's start with. I'm gonna do a sequence, right? I do a sequence, and you see all the layers of the muscle of the back of the arm. So here. So now we can see also the scapula, right? How the scapula is connected with the arm, right? So now I see here the scapula. Kind of triangular shape like this, right? And then a little bit corner up the scapula, up here like this. And then here, right? I'm going to have about here the head of the humerus, here like this, right? And from this corner here, I want to go with a line over the head of the humerus. This is the spine of the scapula. This is the olecranon. Let me show you what happened with the olecranon and the rest, right? This is the spine of the scapula, see that? This is the upper triangle of the scapula. This is the articular face of the scapula. This is where the humerus goes. The spinal scapula can move laterally and ends up with the acromion, right? This is called acromion. And the acromion connects with the clavicle to the front. So as you can see, this is called glenoid fossa. The articular face of the scapula is just under the acromion, as is the head of the humerus, just under the acromion, right? Just under there. So when I draw the scapula, I can consider, and if you notice, the acromion was not quite covered completely in the head of the humerus, was kind of here, a little bit out, or like that, and kind of just short of covering it all. And the spine of the scapula will go over the head of the humerus, and from here moves forward to the clavicle, and we don't see that because it's just anterior, right? This is the upper triangle. The humerus now will go down like this, right? We can draw first a regular shaft like this, and I would say in terms of length, it's about, this is about half the total length of the humerus, right? So I take this and move it here, and then I have a good estimation the length of the humerus in relation to the size of the scapula. So medially here I have a swelling at the center of the head of the humerus here, because it gets thicker. It gets thicker. Muscle attaching here. This has to be strong as it gets thicker in here. There's a swelling, and as I get to, so the rib cage will be here clearly, right? As I get down to the joint in here, the medial side of the ulna is pokey, come out like this. The lateral side is straighter, like straight like that. So this is where the last third, right, the brachioradialis, etc., attach, like originate. So now here I have the olecranon, right, the head of the ulna, and I want to draw in now the carrying angle of the forearm, and this is the ulna, right? So the ulna is going to not going to be in direct continuation, straight continuation of the axis of the radius, but slightly at an angle. And now I want this to be a little bit shorter than this. So let's see, right, how short it is. It could be probably a little bit closer to the head of the radius, sorry, the humerus. So I make it a little bit longer, and here I have the bump of the ulna, right, the end of the sorry, the end of the ulna is on this side here, like this, right? So now on this side here, I block in the radius, right? The radius is going to be outside. And on this side in here, with the hand in supination, I would have the bones parallel, right? And this here is the radius coming down like this, right? And the radius, remember, goes a little bit lower than the ulna, right? So now the hand is going to be here. I want the hand to be about this size, right? All right, looks good. And the thumb is sticking out here like this, right? So now let's start with the muscle, right? The first muscle we're going to block in here is the, actually let's start from here. The muscle here is called supraspinatus. Right? And it goes from up here down like this, right? And it would go over the head of the humerus onto the side of the humerus here like this. It's here, the supraspinatus is inside here, right? And it goes from here, the tendon comes out from here. I don't know if it's visible, right? Let me see. From here, and then from here it goes to, what is the bone? Sorry, guys. Like this, the tendon goes here on top, to the top of the head of the humerus. It fills in this spacing here in the top of the scapula between the upper triangle and the spine of the scapula. So, supraspinatus here, right? And then I have another muscle here that will go from this corner here down to the front of the humerus here. This muscle is called teres major. Like this. And there is another two muscle, right? One that goes from all of this portion in here and covers most of the scapula, the back of the scapula, and goes here to the top of the head of the humerus. And this is the infraspinatus. So this is the what do you call it? The rotator, the cuff rotators, right? These muscles here are very important in keeping the head of the humerus in contact with the joint here, because this joint, the joint of the scapula is very flat, and it's easy for the head of the humerus to kind of slip off, right, outside. So this muscle here grab with a tendon, grab the head of the humerus and keep it in situ. You can still dislocate, right, can pop out, but it's not like the hip joint, which is a cup, and the head of the humerus goes in there, and so the femur goes in there, and it's really difficult to dislocate, right? This one here is flat, therefore this is all the cartilage, and this could slide off easily, but then you have all the tendons grabbing it, see that, grabbing it and holding it in place. So now I'm waiting, so this is teres major. This is infraspinatus. And this is supraspinatus, right? So there's another muscle in here, is the teres minor, but I'm gonna wait to put it in, right? So now what I want to do, I want to go over the muscles of the tricep, right? And we start with the medial head. So the medial head starts in the middle, meaning again, this is the rib cage right here. Start from the middle angle, middle side of the humerus, and goes down like this, right here. And goes now from here, goes diagonally across and come down like this. And that is why, this is why, as I said before, we see the medial head both inside and outside, because it comes across. And now I see it. Where's the door I did before? I see it here. A little bit of that, I see it here. Because it's under the lateral head, right? Makes sense now, right? It's under the lateral head, and I see it poking under. Now this is the tendons, not the muscle, right? I'm gonna keep it right because I want to pile up all the muscles. And all these tendons, we go down to the olecranon, right? The olecranon. But I don't want to finish this too much in terms of detail, because now I want to put over it the lateral head, which covers this. It will cover that. So I'm going to lose that, right? So the lateral head starts from here, the lateral side of the head of the lateral side of the humerus here, and then comes over the medial head. It covers it, right? They're overlapping here. And then this will come out like this, right? Goes down, goes over that, and leaves this lower portion of the medial head visible here. Right here. So now this is the profile, the outline of the lateral head. This is the where the lateral head ends and connect with the tendon here. And each tendon now will connect with the tendon of the medial head, right? Basically, this tendon here, the tricep tendon, collects all the tendinous fibers of the medial, lateral, and long head, which we're gonna see now, right? So now, from here, you see that this one, the teres major, goes to the front of the shaft of the humerus, right? The teres major will go to the back, but before we put in the teres major, I want to block in the long head of the tricep. So the long head of the tricep will start from here, below. So this is the scapula, and this is the articular plane, this the articular face of the scapula. This is the spinal scapula with the acromion, right, on the triangle. This is the head of the humerus here, right? The long head starts from here onto the scapula, meaning the medial and lateral head will go through one joint, which is this. They go through the joint here via the olecranon, because the olecranon is the ulna, so it's technically is below this joint in here, right? But the long head goes through this joint and this joint, therefore has more possibilities, more action, right? Now, this muscle will go in between the tendon, over the tendon of the teres major here, which now we don't see anymore, right? We don't see this anymore. To connect with the scapula here, and it comes out like this, and now goes over the poor medial head, which is now is covered not just by the lateral head, but also by the long head. And it kind of, we don't see much of this guy, except when we look at the arm from this side here, then we see it, right? So now all of this is the long head, which is very powerful, very big muscle, because, you know, because it is, right? And now I see here, these fibers, the muscle, connecting with the fibers of the tendon of the tricep, and I have one long head, right? Of the tricep, lateral head, and medial head, right? Okay, so now this muscle, this tendon goes over here, over the tendon of the, I want to make it white because we need to see the difference. And then over this, now I have the teres minor. So you see now the long head of the tricep will go through a passage between the teres major and teres minor. So when we look at the figure from the back, from behind here, sometimes, right, at this level here, the armpit, this is the armpit, right? It's gonna be the latissimus dorsi here. We see here a curve of the arm that goes in like that. That's the tendon. That's a tendon of the tricep, right? So you're gonna see this little small variation, this small little angles and curve, and only because you know they're there. Otherwise, it's really difficult. It's really easy not to notice this at the end of the arm as it goes through the deltoid, because this is going to go under the deltoid eventually. There is a little bit of a curve in here, and that is the tendon, the long head of the tricep, right? So now over here, so guys, do you want to take a screenshot of this or something? Because I'm going to put muscles on top. I guess it doesn't matter. You're going to have access to the Zoom session, so it doesn't matter, but if you want, right? Now over here, I'm going to put the deltoid,
How are they
right?
doing the Zoom?
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry to interrupt. I didn't realize we got access to the Zooms afterwards.
You didn't realize what, Harry?
That we had access to the Zoom sessions.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know if they're already available, but you should have them so you can watch it again. You can watch it again.
Okay.
Greg, do you know if they're ready? You know, because I know that Michael has been working on them.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen it appear in the canvas or anything. But.
Yeah, I haven't seen them either. Usually there's a notice that says your thing is ready, and so I don't know. Well, I'm gonna ask him tomorrow. If not, I have my brother that is collecting them, and I'm gonna send you a link independently. So from PAFA, you should get them, right? So you can watch them again. Because this is complicated stuff, right? So it's not like a... Okay, so now here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the deltoid over here. So now the deltoid start from this lower margin of the spine of the scapula, right? And the acromion, and come down like this over the head of the humerus here. And then, of course, it goes, now we've seen halfway down the length of the arm on the side, right here. But it disappears sooner because the volume of the tricep hides it. So I don't want to have this going all the way down here and turn. It appears like it stops sooner. Now from here, from the corner of the scapula here, I go down over the tricep here, right? And now I'm going to erase all of that, right? All of that, because I want to put the deltoid on top of it. Right? So now all of this is the deltoid. When I draw the deltoid, I want to think that this line here wraps around the round volume of the triceps. So it's not going to be a straight line. I can draw it as a straight line just to begin with, just to kind of go from point A to point B, right? Origin to insertion. But later, I just slow down a bit, right? And then I kind of define the form a little more clearly by making this more organic, right? So there's also a difference between this portion in here, the deltoid, which is the biggest one, the chunkiest one here, right? And this portion in here, which is flat. So sometimes this portion in here, you don't see it. There's only one model that I ever worked with, maybe two. But at PAFA, we have Daro, right? And Daro is very well developed, very beautiful model, very well developed. And he's the only one that has a big chunky portion of that muscle here. Otherwise, you don't see that. What you see is the delta looks like it's stopping here. And I need a darker color here. And all of this, it looks like it's a infraspinatus because it's so flat in here that it almost doesn't leave any volume. But with Daro, he developed this muscle noticeably. So you see all the bone in here, this muscle here, also visible here. Otherwise, you almost don't see it. Why is that? Because this muscle here will lift the elbow back now toward me. You don't really do that many times. You don't really do that many times, right? So, but this one, yes, this one lifts the arm on the side, slightly back like this. But this one, you don't really use that much. So most likely it's not going to be a big visible muscle, right? Makes sense? So now we see all this nice wrapping of the muscle, deltoid, right? And then I'm trying to simplify now the forearm. I don't want to block in all the deep muscle of the forearm because there's quite a few muscles. So I'm going to try to replicate that essential rendering of the volume of the forearm as I did before, right? As I did before. So this is a little bit too crooked if I look at it now. It's interesting. I'm drawing from an angle like this, and I see it straight on from above me here. So two different views. So now I see it a mistake. I want to fix it. Right? Better, right? Much better. Okay, so now here I can start blocking in the, let's call it dominant volume, right? The dominant volume. So with the arm like this is the back of the hand, right? So here I will see the extensor of the fingers, right? The extensor of the fingers here and the brachioradialis in here. But here, from here, I also see the volume of the flexor of the hand, and they're going to be visible here, but then they will disappear behind that because they have to go to the palm. This is the back of the hand, right? This is the back of the hand. So they have to go to the palm. So I see them starting from here, from the condyle, on the other side of the condyle, but then they're going to go down this way to the palm of the hand. But they do see the outline, the profile of that right here. And they disappear there, right? So this is the flexor carpi ulnaris. Flexor carpi ulnaris, right on the margin, right? Last medial epicondyle, okay? And lateral epicondyle here. So now, let's block in one muscle that is visible, and I mentioned it before, and it's the olecranon, right? So the Anconaeus. The Anconaeus start from here, right? From the lateral epicondyle, and it goes diagonally down like this to the ulna. This muscle extends, stabilizes the forearm. And it goes here to the ulna, right? So Anconaeus. Now, from here, I want to block in, as I said before, the dominant form. I don't want to get lost into too many little things. So I'm blocking the dominant form, and then if I want to, I can subdivide them later on in its component. So the first dominant form here is going to be the extensors, right? The extensor of the fingers, and they're going to start from here, right? Extensor of the fingers and of the ulna. So I'm going to block all of this grouping here as extensors of fingers and carpus ulnaris, right? I'm blocking the ulna a little more clearly. I want to make the division clear, right? Very sharp division. Okay, so this is the extensor of the finger and carpus ulnaris, right? Meaning they go on the side of the ulna, right? And this is a volume. So this volume here, so flexor carpularis, right? Anconaeus here. This volume here is going to be made up by three muscles. Extensor carpi ulnaris, they go down straight like this. Extensor, let's call it little finger, right? And extensor fingers. As a group, this group, as I mentioned already, go down straight from the condyle down, epicondyle down to the fingers, right? And these are the tendons. Like that, right? So now here I have a the group of the brachioradialis, extensor carpidialis longus and brevis coming up like this and developing a bump in here, right? And this muscle here will go, part of this muscle will go here, right? And one will go here to the radius. So overall, what I see is a volume in here like this. That starts a little bit above the joint in here. Maybe too much like that, right? And it goes to the side of the thumb. So this group in here is brachioradialis, extensor carpi radialis longus, extensor carpi radialis brevis. So now I divided in three segments, which is manageable, right? Manageable. You just have to remember one goes to the thumb, a group of these three go to the thumb, and basically here to the base of the index. Right? So they are organized at the angle going down here at an angle. So the whole group is oriented that way. But these, they go to the center, to the middle. So therefore, the whole group is going to go down straight to the fingers, right? Like that. So as another way of reviewing this, we can see how, as seen from the front, right? Let me see.
Can I take a picture of that arm?
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Sure.
let me enlarge this a little bit, right? No, let me reduce so it fits, right? There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What did I just say? Oh, we look it from the front, right? We look this from the front, just to revisit a little bit what we did with the supination pronation, right? We had the upper arm like this. We had the forearm like this, and we decided to draw. I'm going to draw it as a conical, a circular section here, and a square section here, right? So this is the joint, right? This is the joint. Now, the condyle is going to be here and here, right? And the olecranon is in the back, because this is going to be the front, right? It's going to be the front, so I don't see the olecranon. Now, the bicep is here, right here. Bicep and brachialis is here. So at this point in here, I see this kind of turning on the form for the peak of this medial epicondyl, right here. And the volumes of the muscle, the flex, the forearm, are going to go from below this bump right here, occupy this half, the medial half of the forearm, and go down to the center here. So they go down like this and down like this. Straight, right? But then you see how these start just below this peak in here, just below the joint, right, more or less. Now here, instead, on the outside, I have the muscle, the brachial, starting above. Therefore, the peak that in here is at this level here, is going to be higher. And this volume here will develop more on the side, right? So you see how I have on one side, so these two group muscles are not parallel, they're going to be one higher and one lower. See that? So this is this, brachyradialis, ECRB, ECRL. This is this. Make sense, right? So now we have front view and back view, and you see how this, from the back view too, you see how this muscle here, this volume here develops a little bit above the joint, right? Above the olecranon. So, I want to say something else. I can't remember what I want to add about this. I guess I'll remember later on. The idea is this, that if you remember these two things, how this group in here, that starts laterally is higher and goes to the side of the thumb, is related to this group in here that is lower and start in the medial half of the arm and go straight down, then you're going to have a much better understanding of the form of the forearm in movement, right? Another thing that you might notice is that you don't really see division here in the forearm. You don't see division here. What you would see is form like this. You see this form here like this, right? But it's really difficult to see past this division here. You're really difficult to see a sharp line in here. You feel like this volume in here is going together toward the center of the wrist. But in reality, it's divided into, the fact is that these two groups here create a form, a unique form that is like this. When I flay it, then they're going to be separated into groups. This is visible, the division here is visible when I move the arm up like this, right? Up like this, let me show you. From flat I don't really see the division between these two muscles, but as I do this, now this division start becoming evident, because this now is at an angle down like this, right? If I do this, then it flattens again, and then like that, it goes up higher and higher. And this, the width decreases, right? The width decreases because this muscle moving up now. And now I have an angle of this plane is at an angle like that, as this here is now flat, and an angle like that. Now this group, see where it goes? See this one here? Right? So brachioradialis, right? Extensor. See the division here? Extensor of the fingers, right? So I have this chunk that cuts across the arm to go to the radius, right? So I don't want to overdo it with the arm. I think we covered a lot. Is this clear, guys? Is this okay? You got it? You can watch it again.
Yes.
Right? You can watch it again.
It's clear. It's just a lot of information.
It's a lot of information, so it's gonna take some time to digest, right? But if you have the book, this is on page 140, 145, 46, 47, 48, 49. So it's quite a few pages in there, and you can find all the muscle in detail, even a deeper muscle, almost all the deeper muscle in detail. But it's important that you kind of also find a way of synthesizing these muscular groups, right? So I would like to go back to the hands so you can draw more hands, because you've done a very good work with the hands. I was very impressed, right? Very impressed. So I'm thinking of giving you a little bit more complex works with the hand, right? I mean, you've done a good job, so I know you can handle it, right?
No, I haven't done mine yet.
All right, I'm gonna get you some examples. Let's see. With the hands. Here, hands. All right, so hands. All right, an exercise for you guys. So an exercise I would like you to do, right, is this. This is one, right? This is one. And this is the other one. So let's look at this first, right? Because we get now more and more into the dynamic of moving the hand, right? So blocking the hand in any position that you want. You can even copy this, that's fine, or be inspired by this, it's fine, right? But I want you to start thinking of how this portion of the hand, these parts of the hand, come together in a specific way, because they are, you know, they are anatomically structured with a structure and muscle, etc. And what happens when they start moving them, right? That will make you think even more in terms of, let me see, what is this? There you go. Okay, in terms of form and function. So let's repeat what I have here, right? Just to make it, you know, show an example of what you could do. So I have now a block in the palm of the hand, and I decide, you know, the palm of the hand, I look at the highest point, I look at the lowest point, look at the intermediate point, and I see the palm coming down like this. Maybe you want to start also thinking that the palm here, the fixation of the palm, tapers a little bit. So instead of having a regular thickness in here, maybe you want to taper a little bit, because that's what's happened really in the hand. So you gradually add a little bit more detailed information, right? And now I have here the palm, and I have the fingers blocking here, right? So I can find the midpoint here, and I know that here I will block in the fingers. One here, and another finger maybe here. I don't need to block in all the fingers first. First, let's position them to see if they are spaced evenly, etc. If they are, then I can go back in and add more volume or form, right? Now, the tenor eminence is going to be blocked in here, right? At this level here. And we are seeing that kind of gets halfway the height of the palm. And I think of this as a separate chunk. So I block it in over the palm and then take off what I don't see. Now I can take it off. But first I want to draw it because it helps me thinking three-dimensionally, right? So this is going to be the side of the hand. This is the palm of the hand. And now I have the hand blocked in like this, right? Let's see if all the parts kind of work together. And then maybe I want to have, I don't know, this coming out like that, or any way you want, try any way you feel like it. Try to play with that, right? And now I have the fingers coming out like this, coming like this, and that, like that, and like that, right? So now I can add a little bit more details, right? Detail. And then maintaining the shortening of the fingers, right? And another thing I would like you to do is once you have blocked this hand in here, right? Just to add the next little bit of information with my hand, we can do this. Imagine the light source, right? It can come from here. And you're thinking, okay, if the light source is here, then all of this is going to be shaded. And all of this is going to be shaded too. Maybe here there's a little thin sliver of light, but then it's going to go, as it goes behind the palm, it's going to be shaded too. All of this is going to be shaded, right? All this thing is going to be shaded, maybe backlit or something like that, right here. And all of this is going to be shaded too. And here, also here, here, and here, right? And so on. Then you start having this effect of studying the effect that the light can have on the form. And that will make you more aware of the volume of the hand, right? So now I have this head in here and think, okay, this is good, I like it. Now I want to move the thumb. I want to move the thumb and maybe the fingers too, right? It's giving a grabby look. So let's try that. Sorry. When I'll retire, you know, they used to give golden watches. I hope I get the gold pencil sharpener. And I used so many. I had used so many pencil sharpeners. It's not even funny. All right, so now let's do the same thing, right? Just blocking the forming here. And I'm doing this very quickly because I want you to kind of, but then you can look at this and take a picture of this if you want. Just don't divulge it because it's another image from the book, right? So, so now I have here the volume of the palm, doing the same thing, right? Doing the same thing here. Blocking the whole palm, blocking maybe the arm, I don't know, it's gonna go a slight different angle, right? This way, who knows? Try it, try to see what happened, right? And now I want to see that how this from here is pivoting here, right? At this corner, at the lower corner of the palm, the thumb is pivoting here, right? The joint. Let's see if I have the arm. Yeah, the arm. Oh, yeah. See where the thumb is pivoting all the way down to here at the base here. So really here, right? Really here. So you see now, when I show you the tendon, this is the tendon, right? This is the tendon of the extensor of the thumb that goes here. And this little point here is the base of the thumb. And that's where the tendon goes, right? So here, so that is the pivoting point. That's the pivoting point of the thumb. Good to know, right? Good to know. But also think that it is not really smack in the middle. See that it's a little bit anterior, right here. It's anterior. So this is not right here in line with this. It moves forward. So it's going to be toward the palm side, right? A little bit to the palm side, right? So now I have this pivoting point here to the palm side here. And I'm thinking from here, right? From here, that's the bone. I want to move it here. And I consider maybe doing this. I want to consider the fact that now this is a little bit, it's not like flat like that, like this, right? It's coming toward me a little bit, right? So this is gonna be shorter, right? And I see what is the base of this? Oh, okay. I see it at here, right? I see it here. So that is the base of that. And that is now the new position of the base of the thumb, right here and here. I can even try to maybe push it a little bit more if you want, right? Or extend it even more. Whatever you want to do, you don't have to have this pose here. It could be a pose like this, and then you do this, right? You do this, right? Whichever way, or this, right? And this. You see how this kind of goes from, you start from here. Actually, I'm going to do it here again because I cannot move it. So this is the hand, right? And this is the thumb, the middle finger, index, ring finger, pinky. The thumb is going to be here, pivoting here at the corner here. And then from, let's say here, right? With the tenar eminence, right here. And this is the hypotenar eminence. I can then do this and put it here. Right? Could do that, or even sketches like this, trying to think, what happened if I move the hand like this? I move the thumb from here to here, or move it back like this. What happened? I tried to figure out movement of the thumb in relation to the palm. Now here, instead of being straight like this, I could give it a grabby, raking overall direction, right? So I'm gonna have maybe here the middle finger, right? And index, middle finger, ring finger, and maybe the pinky is gonna be even more, you know, flex forward. So now I have this back as much as I can go, right? As much as I can go. How much can I go? Meaning, you know, unless you push it like this, is not going to go straight. I mean, not in my hand anyway, right? Without breaking. I really push it, yeah, I go, but then they say, okay, stop it already, right? But normally, if I try to do this, I'm not going to go perpendicular with that. So I want to study also how much can I extend or flex. Flex as much as you want. how much can I extend right here? And so find this angle that you can, you know, that is plausible, right? That is within normal limits, right? Because if you do it too much, then the hand looks like it's breaking or looks like weird, right? And then here you're gonna have this chunky portion of the hand that if you want, you can kind of hint at. This portion here is going to be maybe back and a little bit more straight and a little bit more forward, right? Like that. These hands are becoming a little bit too long, so I need to be, to shorten them, right? The fingers. And then this maybe now is moving a little bit straight like this, right here. And then here like this, right? And this is going to be down like this. Or the pinky is the shortest segment, right? Here, and then grab it like that. So now that thumb, it could go, it could stay like this, or it could also do this, right? Just to give it a more kind of crooked kind of direction, like kind of comes in. So you're going to have here 1, 2, 3, right? Okay, and then eventually we can do the same thing, right? We can do the same thing, and you can now think, okay, what is the light here, coming from here? Or maybe the light comes from somewhere else. Let's say now the light will come from here, right? Under here. So now I have this one is dark. This one is gonna be darker, right? This is gonna be dark, like backlit, right? I mean, from the bottom up, like a Halloween style, right? Whatever happened to Gundam style? Is it still around, you guys? Gundam style. I guess he made enough money. He defeated to North Korea. Okay, so now here have the, you know, imagine like a flame or something, right? I don't know. Then you have this really different effect in terms of mood, right? Really in terms of that this is gonna be all darker and all dark in here because you don't see it, right? And this probably also, there's gonna be the tangency zone at this level here, tangency zone here. The passage between light and shadow, the tangency zone here like that, right? And likewise here, right? So that this is another exercise I would like you to do, just to practice drawing the hands in a sequence, right? A sequential thing. So you've done a very good job with the basic hands, holding and looking this and looking from the back. But now try to develop them tonally, but draw them as blocks for now, right? Because it's easier to consider, at least this exercise, it's easier to consider the hand considering the light, figuring out the light in this term, especially when you do it from imagination, right? So this is one exercise. Do you want to take a picture of this? Or a screenshot or something? Let me know when you're done, right?
I've got it.
I'm
Got it.
finished.
I'm
Yeah.
good.
All right, good. So now let's look at this. This is another way that you can, another exercise that will permit you to become aware of the volumes of the forearm. Imagine you slice the hand like this, right? So what I did a copy. I put my hand like this, right? Copied it, and then minus the hair. And then I imagine section line. What happened? So this cutting on the form helped me in visualizing all the specific little movement down to the tendon. See that's in here. So there's a tendon here that goes here at the back of the thumb, and there's a bone here. So this is flesh, this is bone, this is tendon, and back to the bone, and that will create an interesting section here, and here with the gravy, which is not a round, regular round form, but it's going to have all this little minimal variation in profile that the cross contour section will put in evidence, right? So do another drawing of your hand. You don't need to keep it like this. It's just kind of tiring to stay with the hand like this. Like maybe you start moving around like this. But put it in the position that you can just plop it down like this, let's say, and then once you're done with the drawing, render it tone a little bit. You don't have to push too much the shading, but you want to render it tonally because you want to visualize the turning of the plane. So in other words, it doesn't have to be an extreme tonal scale with super dark areas, just enough so that you can put in evidence the various structure of the hand because then later you need to cut, so slice down to cut, right? So get your hand down like this, right? And then copy it using maybe this method in here, right? But when you use this method in here, now you don't push it too hard. Let me show you. Don't push too hard the line of the block. So you can start with the line of the block, but very, very light, just barely visible. Very, very barely visible. You look at this, you look at this portion in here, right, of the thumb in here, right? You feel this line of the knuckles here like this, right? And then you have the palm, right? You have the back, let me show it like this, right? You have now this line here, this line here, this line here, right? Just barely visible. And then the wrist right here. Now, this portion in here, you think of this portion is something attached, and you look, what is this, right? What is forming here? I'm gonna have a slightly different view that you have. You see more from above, I see more from this side, but it doesn't matter. It's just to show you the method, right? You want to approach. Now, this line here is the peak and the base of the thumb here, right? And this now comes out like this, and you think of this as something that is attached to the hand. You can also eventually, see this is the bone, right? This is the bone, and this is the first interosseous muscle. So you could think of this as a specific form in here that bridges the gap between this and this, right? And then it has its own form. So find an analysis, a structural analysis of this form in here that permits you to focus only on the measurement, meaning how long, how wide, what is this angle, what is this angle, what is this angle, right? So that you don't get too much too soon into organic anatomical details. Then you find now the base of the center here, the thumb, where I see it is fairly central. You see it more at an angle, but I want to find the thumb because it's the peak of the form. And then I block in this finger. Now I block in this finger, right? I look at this angle, and then I block here, this finger here, like this, right? And then I start seeing a little bit of overlapping here between the various forms here, right? So I overlap the cylinder, right? And then I see now this finger going down like this, and now this thumb here is too straight, it goes out a little bit more, I change it, right? And I see that now from here, from where I'm looking at, my thumb is coming here and going close to that, right? But this is too long, so a little bit shorter because just doesn't touch, right? Doesn't overlap. And now this thumb, it goes out like this, right? Now I see this going back this way, stopping here, maybe just barely visible here. Again, you have a different view. I see now a little bit of this and here, right? And I almost don't see any of the thinking. Makes sense? So I have this very, very faint effect. You can keep it even less visible than this. Even less visible than this. So that just enough that you see it, just that. Maybe you just barely see that, see that? But you see it, it's enough. You don't need to mark it down, right? So, because this has to go, this has to disappear. So now, once I block this in, right? Once I block this in, what I do, if it's too heavy, there's too much information, I soften it up, I clean it up, right? And then I got my hand, right? Thank God. And now I go back in here and I kind of refine it a little bit. You still see the basic imprint of the hand, right? And that's all you need. This will have to disappear, will be integrated in the drawing that you're going to do now. So here now I can kind of block in a little bit more detail right here, right? And then I see the little bump of the ulna here, and maybe this form here, and instead of going down straight like this, it goes a little bit more back like this, and then there's a fold of the skin here, right? And this creates an interesting plane overall here, but this form here is definitely not going to be so angular. It's going to be much more gradual, right? And this here, right? So, but you see how we're getting into the realistic, the organic rendering of the hand, because I have the structural trace that is really helping me greatly to focus now on the aesthetic, if you want, or specific characteristic of the finger, of the hand, without having to worry about how long is this, how wide is it. I already resolved that, and that's it. Now I can focus on the next level of drawing. Now here I have this form of the fingers coming in, overlapping with this, right, flat, and then turning. This now goes down a little bit lower because my hand moves, right? And this goes from here. I have the knuckle widening, like we've seen last week, right? Widening here, and this is kind of creating a hump part in here, and then the knuckles in here, like this, right? And same thing, right? All those things that we've seen last week and the week before. How do I now blocking? I know there is a swelling here, right? And this comes in here, then it stops. And this, now I had the sense of overlap, you know, this form with this form here. This one here is also going to overlap gradually here, and so on, right? Right. So, and then the knuckles and that. Next, what I want to do, I want to start rendering tonally this. So the way I drew this is through a method that I call tonal cross contour hatching, right? Which we can discuss that later if you want, but it's interesting. But you don't have to. The tonal cross contour kind of follows the contour with a cross hatching method, and then I can pack more and more cross hatching lines together to create a sense of tonal development, right? So you see how all these lines in here will follow the section. This plane is fairly flat, but here I have the passage or some sort of tangency zone here, right? And so on also here. But I pack more lines in here to create a sense of tonal, but at the same time, I maintain the idea of this, right? But it's in a more loose, artistic way, if you want, right? So now here, I don't have to do that, but I might want to block in at first shadow mass and light mass, right? Kind of lightly like this. I'm making it without looking. I should be looking, but that's fine. So now here I would have all these areas here that is in the shadow. This is all in the light, but then I'm going to have to deal with the tendon, right? So maybe I block the tendon, right? When you're blocking the tendon, don't draw the tendon like that because they look like blades. They look like very sharp. Go across the form. Do that. Because think of this, right? So we have a tendon, right? This is the hand, right? This is the block of the hand, right? Here. And you have here tendon, one here, and one here. So this is a section, right? So I cut my hand, and this is a blocky hand. I cut it, and I have all these tendons sticking out. If it's flayed, I see the tendons. So yes, they're going to be like that. They're going to be sharp line like that. There's an entity. But if this hand has flash over it, has muscle over it, think of this. Think of doing that. This is going to be the flash and a little bit of fat. You're going to do this, right? Then over here, the skin, you're going to do this. So now all of this, no, it's not going to be straight line. It's going to be, let me make it bigger, right? It's going to be like a blanket. It goes over the tendon. Therefore, I don't have lines, but I have a little bit of a bridge, right? I have a bridge that bridges these big gaps. And this now goes like this, across the form. Make sense? Mm-hmm. So in here, if I do line like this, it looks like Mickey Mouse gloves. It's not right, right? It's not right. It's too harsh, right? But here now I have this idea of, you don't have to go right perpendicular. You can also go a little bit at an angle like that. But the general idea is that you want to create some sort of blanket that bridges the gap between these two forms, a little bridge, right? A little bridge. And you go across the form or diagonal to the form. Don't go with the form. Don't go with the form. Right? So that interrupts the flow. So here I can go slightly diagonal, that's fine. And maybe in some areas it's going to be a little bit packed, a little bit sharper here when it goes around the knuckle here, right? And maybe disappear. Well, depending how you hold the hand, right? I see them here a little bit, right? I don't see much in here, right? So maybe now this form here will turn a little bit. I see this forming here now on the other side, right? Like this. And then I see all of this a little bit darker here like this. This volume here is darker here because this is a there's a change of direction, right? From here to here, a change of volume. So maybe around here, I have a little bit of a darker volume, meaning every time there is a change of volume, there's a change of plane, there is a change of light. So you're copying this guy, right? You're copying, right? You do it with me? Because that way you kind of practice doing the exercise, right? And then you can do it again, moving your hand as you want to, right? But try to work with me, right? So now here, I have now all this portion here is darker. See that how darker it is, right? So this is a plane that is at an angle like this, and I see it has catches more light. But as I move here, the plane turns a little bit more like this, so it catches less light. Also this, see that area here, so this and this. See how this is darker? And this is slightly lighter. It's because you have 1, 2, 3. Beautiful, right? You see all these tonal characteristic tonal, you know, differences, right? So it's gonna be darker here, right? So once I have locked in the hand like this, right, we can also push it a little bit. But again, as you push the tonal development, try not to obliterate the form, because sometimes if you push the value very, very dark, then you're gonna, you know, hide the form by simply making it black too dark, and you lose. Try not to lose detail to the tonal development, because you need that detail to eventually create the section, right? The section, the cross contour is your goal. The revealing the volume, the planimetric aspect of the hand is going to be your priority, right? Not the tonal, not extreme or realistic tonal development. That we can do another time, right? And then if you see what I'm saying, if you block in the hand, first is blocks, right? Get rid of the blocks when you're done with them. Then you can focus more on, more easily on the tonal rendering, because you know you have done a good job structurally. You don't have to worry about that anymore. So you block in now the more organic form that will substitute the blocky part that is now gone. And because you studied the hand structurally, when you put in the shadow, the shading, you already have a good idea where the form is turning, and you can develop the tonal development is going to be much more accurate, right? It's going to make more sense because you consider all the changes of plane. If you don't do that, you consider all the structural aspect of the hand or any parts of the body, you might be distracted by specific little dark spots or light spots here and there. You end up running from value to value without connecting those values with the structural aspect, and you're gonna have all this incongruent light, dark blotches here and there. They don't come together harmoniously, right? So now, so this is okay, right? We got it, right? You're gonna push it a little bit more, meaning you want to push it where you kind of get this level of rendering definition, because I've seen you're pretty good now with the volume. You understand the volume very well. So do that. Start with that. Clean it up. Keep it lighter, because the drawing that you did so far, which is very good, are intense or dark, but that's fine because that's what the exercise. But now you want to think that the blocks that you're going to do for this exercise are just a tool. So eventually it has to go. They have to be eliminated. So make them lighter, make them lighter. And if they are, when you move on to the next stage, if you need to, you're going to soften them up, like soften them up. Now, after that, blocking the shading, right? And the blocks are gone, but the blocks will be still your guide, because you kind of have still a good, all that analysis that you've done will still be with you, right? Will still help you out. So now, when this is done, again, render it to a better level than this, more finished, so you have, you're gonna have time. And now you take a different color pencil, right? I use blue here because it makes a nice contrast. You can use black, that's fine, any darker color. And you start cutting this, right? Cutting this, and you start saying, okay, this plane is dark. See that has a shading here, so it moves away. So I'm gonna have this coming like this, right? And then here a little bit, I see the little bit of the tendon. So maybe it's gonna do this here, and then it's gonna go down a bit, and it goes up again, right? And down again, and then up again and down again. And here I see this volume here of the interosseous muscle. And you can even look at your hand, right, to make sure that you have it right. And then here I'm gonna cut it like this, right? Here, this is light, so meaning this is the side of the thumb that sticks out. So we're going down and out, right? Down and out. And then this is darker, and then it goes down again, right? So that your section, imagine ka-chung, you cut your hand like that, right? Same thing here, but I would just keep a few, like a little bit of a space in between, not a lot, just, quarter of an inch, half an inch, something like that, right? So then you can create all this interesting section here. They're going to be slightly different from, level to level, right? And again, you can keep checking your hand if you you need information. But this is not an exercise that I think it's very important to do, right? Here. Here and down like that, right? Here, here, and here, and so on. So this now, keep in mind that the fingers, we mentioned this already, are going to be here a little bit rounded, curved, but then it's not going to be a round section for the fingers, right? It's going to be a little bit squarish, right? So start maybe with a round section, but then you kind of square it a little bit, right? You round the corners, right? And therefore here, the passage from this plane to this plane is going to be not so regular, right? It's going to be a little bit straighter and then changes direction more clearly. So here the section will follow that idea, right? And then here probably you're going to see a peak in here, because that's the peak of the tendon that is still visible here. And then eventually it kind of flattens out here, but there's still a peak in here, close to the, just below the, past the knuckle here. Then gradually, so here, like this, and gradually kind of flattens. And then you're going to have now the flat portion of the wrinkles in here. So try this, right? Try this and see what happened. So you could also and it's really totally up to you, right? If your hand, the pose of your hand permits it, you could also have different cuts, right? You could have like a kind of all sort of funky cut like this, right here. Right, different angle, just to go wild, right? Just to go wild, can different cut. Can also have a cut that is longitudinal here like this, but this is not going to be as interesting because. But you can try to do it, right, to see what happens, right here. It's not going to be as interesting as this because this follows really a lot of relief and form, etc., etc., right? So you can do this directly on your drawing, but if you fell in love with your drawing, it came out particularly nice, take tracing paper, put it over your drawing, and then slice it. And you can try 2-3 different times, 2 different angles, etc., etc. But then it can become a way to keep practicing slicing, creating a cross contour line, right? So, which reminds me, we had to talk about cross contour, cross hatching, and tonal cross contour hatching. Did you talk about this? The way you make the lines cross contour? Did we already describe it?
No.
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 Right. So I don't know exactly if this name exists, right? But I'm to an age where I just invent stuff and I say, okay, that's what I call it, right? And now I'm going to explain what these things mean, right? More or less. So I call this structural drawing, right? So it might be that when you talk to people and you tell them structural drawing, and they say, okay, the structural drawing is this, right? Is this. And then maybe this is a sphere here, right? Maybe this is another cylinder here. Maybe this, so eventually I can do this, right? And I study really the structure of the form of the bottle, etc. That is structural drawing too. But for me, this is also structural drawing because when I draw these lines, I describe the structure. So the structure of the subject that I am drawing, and I'm going to explain. Cross-hatching. Cross-hatching is as old as the pyramids, but not as good looking. Cross-hatching. Cross-hatching is kind of crude, right? But it's good. We want to know cross-hatching, right? So cross-hatching is this, right? Right, and it's very graphic, right? It's very flat in a sense, right? But it permits you to create a tonal rendering, but flat, right? So you could do this exercise to practice creating a tonal development cross-hatching, right? Do this, block in a strip. So we did not do this, right?
No.
Okay, good. So, and then I divide this in half, I divide this in half, I divide this in half. And maybe I go to 10, right? I go to 11. Remember Spinal Tap? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. It goes to 11, right? Okay, so now I decide this is white and I can call it 0, and this is black and I call it 10. You're gonna find either way, either white is 0 or white is 10, or black is 0, white is, you have to get together and agree on a form, you know, so, and agree on how to call black and white. So I've seen both. So now what I do here, I can create the first line of cross-hatching like this, right? And this would be the weakest value, right? The weakest value next to white. And I just put it everywhere though. Then I go for the next value here and I do this. All right. So this work will also make you practice making lines, which is always a good thing because it retrains your hand, right? Then I have one value, another value, and then I can do the same thing here, right? And then 1, 2, 3, and then 4, maybe slightly different angle, right? Slightly different angle here, but I put it everywhere, right? I'm becoming impatient, so I'm gonna go faster, right? But eventually you're gonna go fast when you do this, right? But the idea is that you will have discernible lines coming together in a neat way. Now it's becoming a little bit messy because my point is getting dull and I don't want to spend the whole night doing this because you understand what I'm doing, right? So
Yeah.
this is 4 and this is 5, right? But you go through the whole layer, meaning, and then 6, and then the end, you're gonna have the darker possible value, but obtained with neat cross-hatching. So that's a tonal scale, but obtained with cross-hatching. So, and that's fine. And then you can create now a tonal rendering in an object, like let's say an object like this, right? Where you have this here, right? But then here you have this, which is going to be a little bit darker, right? And it's going to be maybe a little bit dark, but not as dark, and it's going to be darker, right? So it's going to be fairly flat, right? Fairly flat. And that's fine. That's fine. Very graphic, but it's not going to be realistic. It's not going to be realistic, right? It's good for ink. It's good for engraving and stuff like that, or variation like that, right? So when we do the cross contour, so this is cross hatching. When you do the cross contour, this is what cross contour, oh, I have the power here. There you go. The cross contour does this. You have, let's see a cylinder, right? It could be a finger, right? Here, a cylinder. The cross contour would do this, what we have been doing with fingers, with the hand. It gives you it reveals the form, the section, the volume of the form. So imagine this like a topographic map to see from above. Here you have the mountain is seen like this from the side, right? Like this. And you have this cross contour line like this, right? They go, the mountain a little bit in perspective, gonna be like this, right? And like, you know, 10 feet, 20 feet, 30, etc. This. But then when I see from above, you have all these kind of wiggle and jiggle like this. but it gives you the idea of the various level of the height of the mountain. The same thing here. So as I cut my mountain here, I cut my cylinder, I reveal the contour of my mountain, right? So this is though is pretty matter of fact, right? Kind of you know, dull, not dull, but you know, it cuts the form and shows you the section. So like you slice it. So if I want to have a little more, so this is cross contour, right? If I want to have a little bit more nice and realistic rendering, I start doing this right here. It still gives me the idea of the turn of the form, but in here now, maybe I'm thinking, you know what? I don't need to tell you the whole curve. You know what I'm saying. Maybe this one now from here goes here, right here, here. But now with this, you kind of maintain a coherence between this line, stop, and this line. I mean, these two connect via my brain. My brain says, oh, I see, I get it, I get it, I get it. You don't need to tell me everything, right? So I know this is going this way. But then also, I can, because this really turning plane, I could also really kind of thicken the line in here. And I can also maybe go slightly at an angle like this and create some sort of cross-hatching, see that? But the cross-hatching here is always following the line of section, meaning I have here line of section like this, right? And then I overlap with the line of section, they're gonna go like this. Make sense? So it's simply more, and I give you more information, meaning what this does is start defining specific areas of section. So if I have an hexagon or an octagon or something like this, right? I'm gonna do this, right? Cross, I go across the form. Across the form is crucial. When I do this, now I go across the form in here, and maybe here I just don't put as many because this is darker, this is medium, and this is lighter. But from here, what I could do, I could create more planes. Imagine this is the same, but more plane, right? So we're gonna have this, 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 this. Right? So now here I have same thing here, 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 right? And that gives me the idea of turning on the form. If I keep going in an infinite planes, then I end up with this, right? So the same concept, but then when I want to maybe emphasize more plane, I can get, so at the end, even if at this point in here, I have a line that describes this plane here, or a line that describes this plane here, that goes down like this, right? That is almost with the form. And I just told you, you had to draw across the form. But this line here, paradoxically, is also going across the form. It's simply a plane that is moving away from me. And now this line here looks parallel to the form, but it's not. It's still going across the form. So now in this case here, I could simply get a little bit more of these lines in here to emphasize that this is a plane, this is another plane, right? And this is another plane. And that will give me the turning of the form, always with line across the form. So if I keep, so this is cross contour hatching. right? Because it still describes the form. If I really want to develop this tonally as much as possible, then I do tonal, cross, contour, hatching. Which means here I push it as much as I can with more and more line with the scope of obtaining a tonal development. At this level here, I'm still concerned with the form. My main objective is the form. But in here, if I want to go tonal, then I'm gonna make more and more lines where I want to also achieve a tonal development. Make sense? So this drawing here is done with tonal cross contour hatching. As other drawing, I may show you. You'll see how dark it gets in there, and I lose eventually the lines because I pack so many together. Where now I am also trying to replicate the tonal aspect of the form, but always using. Let me see if you can see it. Right, cross contour hatch. All these lines in here are hatched. See that? But always describing the form from different section, different direction. So this is an important definition of marks, line, mark making that you want to be aware of, because you're going to obtain different results. But mostly, you have to understand how to use this cross contour hatching if you want to achieve that idea of volumes, right? This idea of volume, focusing on the volume when you do these lines in here really makes you greatly aware of the forms of the planes of the hand or the body or whatnot, and it permits you to achieve a much more three-dimensional rendering of your figure. Next thing, which we're gonna do next week, is going to be the tonal rendering, right?
So when you were showing that that hand and said that it's tonal cross contour hatching, from you in the other hand where they're more developed.
This one here, right? This one here, right?
Yeah. So are you saying, it seems to me that it follows the contour. I don't see cross hatching, or am I seeing wrong?
Yeah, no, let me show you, right? Because sometimes it's difficult. So let's see. See that? See these lines here?
Yeah.
Let me see if I have, so these are coming across. So this is the finger. So I have line like this, right?
Yeah.
And I have line like this. We have line like this, and then maybe here like this. Eventually, as I pack them together, see if I have that,
so they are not all in the same direction.
No, they're not. They're not. Okay. But they kind of follow. See, they follow. When I do this, I'm going to achieve the same result. I give you the sense of turning the form, but instead of going like perpendicular like this, I might also go create a section. Instead of being like this, it's going to be like this, right?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Makes sense, right? So now if I do this, and I can do this, right? And I can do this. But the idea is that this has to go kind of.
They have to go. It cannot go totally against the rhythm of the.
Cannot go with the form. So it goes with the form. This is the cylinder, right? If it goes with the form, it does this. Which you can do, right? But you tend to obtain more rigid, metallic effects. With this instead, you really kind of go beyond that rigid line like that, and you can evoke more in details the little volume like that. Because in the hand here, instead of having, maybe this is good for artificial thing or metal, etc. But if I do these things in the hand like this, it's gonna be much harder. They're gonna look more angular, right? Makes sense. But this in here, as again I was saying, mimics more closely the behavior of the skin over bony structure, over sharp muscle, and the skin creates this little blanket like that also extend the tonal scale more accurately, because I can put so many more little lines in here. Like together I can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But doing it like this, you can do it, but it's going to be a little bit trickier, right? It's a little bit trickier, and it looks too metallic. I don't know how to say it. Too metallic.
I understand. But I didn't see in the finger is they seem to me that they were parallel lines, but they were not.
No, they're not. Yeah. No, you know what? I'm gonna, if you, Rita, if you remind me, I'm gonna look for an image where I have, actually, it's printed in here.
I
Right?
don't want to take the time with this. I was just curious.
No, but I mean, just a minute, right? I wanted to show you the original, and if I can find the original, it's much more clear. So when you print something, it's going to be less visible, right? See that? Let me see if I can find some light in here, right?
Yeah, I see it.
See that? See this light? See this one here? And then here they can pack together because the tip and the plane kind of flattens it, but all of these lines in here follow the cross contour. See that? See this right here?
Yeah, I understand that.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, right? So in this case, you will really go over all the detail with just, I don't know, more intimately, more like inch by inch and millimeter by millimeter. You can describe all this form much more accurately than you would do. You can still do it in lines like this, like this, like this. Like you can do that. That's fine. But I would say that's another technique. It's another approach. This is out of the Renaissance, right? The structural drawing. So, but one thing at a time, right? One thing at a time. So, good. I think we covered a lot tonight. I'm looking forward to see your hands, your homeworks, right? For next week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any question, guys?
I put something in, but I don't think it made it in till this morning or last week.
Oh, I'm gonna look it up again. When did you put it in?
I put it in project 1.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna look it up again, right? I'm gonna look it up again.
Okay, great.
You check the date of the, because there is a bunch of courses. Some are, no, you must have access only to your course.
I only had, there were 2 projects with discussions, and I put it in the first one.
Okay, I'm gonna look it up again. I didn't see it. I saw many other ones. I think if I didn't comment, I guess I missed it. So I'm gonna look it up again.
It didn't make it into this morning. I forgot to do it I forgot to do it yesterday. So
okay. All right. So I'll look it up. I'll look at it again. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
See you
you.
next week then. See you next week.
Okay.
Bye.
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 Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome, Rita.